Good day, everyone. I am Nika Esarupan from Section B. Today, let me present to you the 5 international leaders and 5 local leaders. So first, let me discuss to you the 5 international leaders and followed by the local leaders. Hello everyone. Let me present you the 5 international leaders worth emulating. So these are the 5 leaders that I have chosen. First is Arne Duncan. So this is Arne Duncan. So Arne Duncan was born on November 6, 1964 in Chicago, Illinois. He grew up in a family deeply committed to education. His mother, Susan Duncan. So Duncan attended the University of Chicago Laboratory Schools for his early education. He then went on to Harvard University, where he graduated magna cum laude in 1987 with a degree in sociology. So Arne Duncan is married to Karen Duncan, and they have 2 children. The family lives in Chicago, where Duncan remains actively involved in the local and national efforts to improve educational outcomes for all students. Here is the accomplishment of Duncan. So, returning to the United States, Duncan took on roles that combined his interest in education and community development. He served as the director of the Ariel Education Initiative, a program dedicated to improving educational opportunities for children on Chicago's South Side. In 2001, Duncan was appointed CEO of Chicago Public Schools by Mayor Richard M. Daley. So in January 2009, President Barack Obama nominated Arne Duncan to serve as the U.S. Secretary of Education. Duncan was confirmed by the Senate and held the position until December 2015. So Duncan also authored a book, How Schools Work, an inside account of failure and success from one of the nation's longest-serving secretaries of education in which he shares his insights and experiences from his career and education. So these are some advocacies of Arne. First one is educational equity. So Arne has consistently championed efforts to close achievement gaps between students from different socioeconomic background. He believes that every child, regardless of their ZIP code, deserves access to a high quality education. So his supportive initiative aimed at increasing funding for schools in low-income areas and advocated for policies that address disparities in educational resources and opportunities. The second one is the teacher quality and effectiveness. So, um, recognizing the critical role of teachers in student access, so Arne has emphasized the importance of improving teacher quality and effectiveness. So he promoted initiatives such as performance-based assessment, professional development programs, and alternative certification pathways to attract and retain talented educators. The third is the early childhood education. So Arn has been a strong proponent of early childhood education, understanding its long-term benefits for children's academic and social development. So he worked to increase federal funding for preschool programs and advocated for policies that expand access to high-quality early childhood education for all for all children, particularly those from disadvantaged background. So the last is innovation in education. So ARN has consistently called for innovation in education to meet the evolving needs of students and society. He launched the Race to the Top program, which incentivized states to pursue innovative reforms in areas such as teacher evaluation, data systems, and standards. So he also supported the integration of technology in classroom to enhance learning experiences. Third is impact on his unconditional service to his people and to us students. So impact on students. So our focus on teacher quality and professional development has led to better teaching practices which directly benefit students through more effective and engaging instruction. And the educators impact on educators. So impact on educators. Teachers have received more support in the form of training, resources, and performance-based assessment, helping them to grow professionally and improve their teaching strategies. So these are the style of leadership that ARN have. So the first one is visionary leadership. So ARN has always had a clear vision for educational reform focusing on equity, innovation, and excellence. So he envisions a system where all students, regardless of their background, have access to a high quality education. So his ability is to articulate a compelling vision for education help garner support from various stakeholders including policymakers, educators, and the public. This vision was crucial in driving significant reforms during his tenure. The second one is the transformational leadership. So Earn a transformational leadership, inspire and motivate their followers to achieve extraordinary outcomes and in the process develop their own leadership capacity. Arn exemplifies this by pushing for ambitious reforms and encouraging innovation within the system. So his transformational leadership resulted in initiatives like Race to the Top, which incentivized states to adopt comprehensive education reforms. This approach not only aimed at improving educational outcomes but also fostering a culture of continuous improvement and high expectation. The last one is collaborative leadership. So ARN emphasizes collaboration and partnerships. So working with a wide range of stakeholders including teachers, administrators, parents, community organizations, and policy makers. So by fostering collaboration, ARN was able to implement reform that had broad-based support. His collaborative stay helped bridge gaps between various education sectors and facilitated the sharing of best practice and innovative solution. So these are the references of um, Arne Duncan. So the second person was Ken Robinson, a British actor and orator. So Sir Ken Robinson, born on March 4, 1950, and died on August 21, 2020. So he was a British author, speaker, and international advisor on education in the arts to government, non-profits, education, and arts bodies. He was born in Liverpool to James and Ethel Robinson. He was one of the 7 children from a working class background. One of his brothers, Neil, became a professional footballer for Everton, Swansea City, and Grimsby Town. Robinson contracted polio at age 4 and spent 8 months in the hospital. So he attended Margaret Bevan Special School due to the physical effects of polio, then Liverpool Collegiate School 1961 to 1963, and Wade Deacon Grammar School. So he then studied English and Drama, Bachelor of Education, at Britton Hall College of Education since 1968 to 1972, and completed a PhD in the University of London, researching the drama and theater, research, researching drama and theater in education. So these are some of his accomplishments. So from 1985 to 1988, Robinson was director of the Arts in School Projects, an initiative to develop the arts education throughout England and Wales. So for 12 years, he was a professor of education at the University of Warwick and became Professor Emeritus, has received honorary degrees from the Rhode Island School of Design, Ringling College of Art and Design. So in 2005, he was named as one of Time, Fortune, or CNN's principal voices. In 2003, he was made a Knight Bachelor for his service to the arts. And in 2001, Rubenson was appointed Senior Advisor for Education and Creativity at the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, which lasted at least until 2005. So these are some of his advocacies. So I only have choose 5 out of 10, I think. So first is creativity in education. So Robinson believed that creativity is as important as literacy and should be treated with the same status in education. So he argued that traditional education system often stifle creativity through standardizations and rote learning. Robinson advocated for teaching methods that encourage creative thinking, problem solving, and the arts. The second is personalized learning. So Robinson promoted the idea that education should be tailored to individual students' needs, interests, and talents. So he criticized one-size-fits-all approaches to education and supportive, personalized learning plans that recognize and nurture each student's unique abilities and passions. The third is holistic education. So Robinson emphasized the importance of a holistic approach to education that includes not only academic skills but also emotional, social, and physical development. So he advocated for educational practices that develop the whole person, preparing students for life, not just the exams. So this includes integrating arts, sports, and social um, emotional learning into the curriculum. The fourth is innovation and innovation in education. So Robinson encouraged educational innovation and the adoption of new teaching methods and technologies. So he supported schools and educators who experiment with innovative practice and creative environments where students can engage in hands-on and experiential learning. The last is the lifelong learning. So Robinson advocated for a culture of lifelong learning where education extends beyond formal schooling. So um, he believed that learning should be continuous, enjoyable process that individuals engage throughout their lives. So this involves fostering curiosity and a love of training from an early age. So his impact on his unconditional service to his people and to his students. So his ideas have led to more engaging, inclusive, and creative learning environments that better prepare students for the future. By championing a creativity, personalized learning, and holistic education, Robinson has helped shift the focus from rote memorization and standardized testing to fostering individual talents and lifelong learning. So this legacy continues to inspire and guide educators and policy makers. So ensuring that his impact will be felt for uh, felt for generations to come. So these are the style of leadership of Robinson. So Sir Ken Robinson's leadership style was a powerful blend of vision, inspiration, collaboration, and empathy. His ability to articulate a transformative vision for education, coupled with his commitment to serving and empowering others, made him a highly effective leader. His leadership legacy is one of fostering innovation, championing creativity, and advocating for a holistic approach to education that truly meets the needs of all the students. So these are my references of Sir Ken Robinson. So the third person I chose was Malala Yousafzai. So she is Pakistani education activist. So this is Malala Yousafzai. So Malala Yousafzai is a Pakistani female education activist. She was born on July 12, 1997, aged 26 years, at Mingora, Pakistan. So her spouse was Asher Malik, parents, and these are her siblings. So Malala, she is the youngest Nobel Prize laureate in history, the second Pakistani and the only Pashtun to receive a Nobel Prize. She has become Pakistan's most prominent citizen. Malala Yousafzai became an international symbol of the fight for girls' education after she was shot in 2012 for opposing Taliban restrictions on female education in her home country of Pakistan. So Malala became the youngest person to win the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014. So these are some of her accomplishments. So in 2013, Malala and her father co-founded the Malala Fund to bring awareness to the social and economic impact of girls' education and to empower girls to demand change. In December 2014, she became the youngest ever Nobel Peace Prize laureate. A Secretary General Antonio Guterres designated Malala as a United Nations Messenger of Peace in 2017 to help raise awareness of the importance of girls' education. So her activism resulted in a nomination for the International Children's Peace Prize in 2011. So that same year, she was awarded Pakistan's National Youth Peace Prize. So these are some of her advocacies. Malala Yousafzai advocacies are driven by her unwavering commitment to education and equality. Her efforts have not only raised global awareness but have also led to tangible changes in policies and programs that support education for all, especially the girls. So Malala's work emphasizes the transformative power of education in achieving gender equality, empowering women, and fostering peaceful and prosperous society. Through her leadership and advocacy, she continues to inspire and mobilize individuals, organizations worldwide to champion the rights of every child to receive a quality education. So her impact on her unconditional service to her people and to us students. So Malala Yousafzai unconditional service has made a profound impact on education and empowerment globally. Her advocacy for girls' education has led to significant policy changes, increased awareness, and inspired countless individuals to pursue education and advocate for their rights. For students, Malala serves as a powerful role model, demonstrating the importance of education, resilience, and the power of a single voice to create widespread change. So her work continues to inspire and mobilize students and educators worldwide, ensuring that the fight for educational equity and justice remains at the forefront of a global efforts. So this is her style of leadership. Malala Yousafzai leadership style is a powerful blend of inspiration, courage, transformation, and service. Her ability to inspire others through her personal story, her courageous stand against oppression, and her unwavering commitment to education has made her a global icon for educational advocacy. Her leadership not only motivates individuals to take action but also drives systematic change, ensuring that her vision for universal education becomes a reality. So, through her servant and collaborative leadership, Malala continues to build a movement that champions the rights of every child to receive a quality education, impacting lives and communities around the world. So these are my references of Malala's Yousafzai. So the fourth person that I chose was Linda Darling Hammond, an American author. So Linda Darling Hammond, Born on December 21, 1951, she is an American academic who is the excuse, who is the Charles E. Common Professor of Education Emeritus at the Stanford Graduate School of Education. Place of birth: Cleveland, Ohio, United States. Spouse: Allen Hammond. So Darling Hammond began her career as a public school teacher in Pennsylvania from 1973 to 1974. She was also the president and CEO of the Learning Policy Institute. She is author or editor of more than 20 books and more than 500 articles on education policy and practice. So her work focuses on school restructuring, teacher education, and educational equity. Her accomplishments: so she was the education advisor to Barack Obama's 2008 presidential campaign, and she was reportedly among candidates for United States Secretary of Education in the Obama administration. Darling Hammond received her BA magna cum laude at Yale University in 1973 and an Ed. Doctor of Education with at the highest distinction in urban education at Temple University in 1978. So Darling Hammond was a president of the American Educational Research Association and a member of the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. She has served on the boards of directors for the Spencer Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, and the Alliance for Excellent Education. So in 2011, she received the Lifetime Achievements Awards of California Educational Research Association. So on December 14, 2021, Darling Hammond became an international fellow at the Royal Swedish Academy of Engineering Sciences. So her advocacies: Linda Darling Hammond's advocacies are centered on creating a more equitable, effective, and holistic education system. Her work emphasizes the importance of high-quality teacher preparation, comprehensive educational standards, whole child education, effective school leadership, policy reform, and support for disadvantaged students through her research and policy recommendations. Darling Hammond has significantly influenced educational practices and policies, striving to ensure that all students have access to the education they need to thrive. So her impact and her unconditional service to her people and to us students. Linda Darling Hammond's unconditional service to education has profoundly impacted both of education community and the students. Her contributions continue to inspire and drive positive change in education, positive change, benefiting countless educators and students around the world. Her style of leadership: her collaborative and servant leadership approaches have built strong networks of educators and stakeholders, fostering a collective effort towards better educational outcomes. Darling Hammond's style of leadership not only inspires and motivates, but also leads to meaningful and lasting change in education. So the last person was Amina J. Mohammed. She's a Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. So Amina Jane Mohammed, born on June 27, 1961. She is a British Nigerian diplomat and politician who is serving as the fifth Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. She is the eldest of five daughters. Amina J. Mohammed attended a primary school in Kaduna and Maiduguri in Nigeria, in Buchan School on the Isle of Man. She further attended Henley Management College in 1989, but she does not hold a formal bachelor degree. After she finished her studies, her father demanded she return to Nigeria. So between 1981 and 1991, Amina J. Mohammed worked with Archon Nigeria, an architectural design firm in association with Norman and Dowbarn, United Kingdom. So some of her accomplishments: she founded a free projects consortium in 1991 and served as its executive director until 2001. Amina later acted as the senior special assistant to the President of Nigeria on the Millennium Development Goals. So in 2005, she was charged with the coordination of Nigeria's debt relief funds towards the achievements of the MDGs. Amina Mohammed later became the founder of and CEO of the Center for Development Policy Solutions and as the adjunct professor for the Masters in Development Practice program at Columbia University. Amina J. Mohammed served as Federal Minister of Environment in the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari from November 2015 to February 2017. In January 2017, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres announced his intention to appoint Mohammed Deputy Secretary-General of the United Nations. So this capacity, she is a member of the UN Interagency Coordinations and Antimicrobial Resistance. So her advocacies: Amina Jane Mohammed advocacies are centered on promoting sustainable development, climate action, gender equality, education, poverty eradication, human rights, and global partnerships. Her leadership and advocacy work have significantly influenced global development policies and practices, contributing to a more equitable and sustainable world. Through her efforts, she has raised awareness, mobilized resources, and driven action on critical issues affecting people and the planet, making a lasting impact on the global development. So her impact on his unconditional service to her people and to us students. Amina Jane Muhammad unconditional service to her people and to mm, and to the world has created a ripple effect of positive change across various sectors. Her leadership and advocacy provide a powerful example of how dedicated service and drive meaningful and lasting change, motivating students to become proactive global citizens. So her style of leadership: Amina Jane Mohammed's leadership style is a blend of visionary foresight, collaborative engagement, transformational change, strong advocacy, servant leadership, inclusivity, inclusivity, and evidence based decision making. So these multifaceted so this multifaceted leadership style not only achieves results but also empowers others to contribute to meaningful and lasting change. These are my references of Amina Jane Mohammed. So now let us proceed to the um, 5 local leaders that I have chosen.